time frame.
Or taken down at all. Now that we're live. Hi everybody. We're going to be talking about the 1984's horror comedy film called Gremlins, which was one of my favorite movies growing up around this time of the year. I thought it had all the bright keynotes of what a family Christmas should be like. A little bit of dad's always gone. Mom says it's okay. I have this awkward relationship with this girl that I don't know if I want to be my girlfriend or not. And oh, wait.
What?
We have this outside horror come marching through our shop because Dad thought he bought a 2-pound puppy. Nope, that 2-pound puppy turned into be something else.
I will say this much though: it does remind me of Christmas when she put the food in the microwave.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah. Hey, Jackie, I'll put the link in the chat for you. You know what, Bo? You can hop in if you want to as well, because you said you really enjoyed this movie. So.
Oh wow, we're expanding.
And any show with Bo in it is worth watching.
No, I just gotta make sure to mind my P's and Q's and language wise, which I've been doing better.
Well, it is Sunday. I mean.
Yeah, I go to church twice a week. Sunday's just another day of the week.
Well, Wednesday and Sunday?
Yeah. Mass on Wednesday, then confessions, then Sunday. Kitchen alert, earlier one. So, did everybody enjoy the movie? I was about ready to say book, because there is a book called The Gremlins out there, but that's not the one we're talking about. Did everybody enjoy the movie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jackie and I had a blast. It was kind of funny too. It was the first time I think in a while. Well, no, that's not true. When we watched Citizen Kane, we didn't make popcorn either. But normally, because we don't watch a lot of movies, I mean, we just don't. We're always doing other things, and normally we'll make popcorn. We watched it at night and had a good old time. I had only seen this movie one other time, and that was on TV, like the first time it came out on TV, after the theater release. I watched it and I'm like, whatever, but this time, paying a little more attention, try to be nice and stuff. I enjoyed it. I probably won't watch it again for, a decade or so, maybe when Jackie's got grandkids, we'll all watch it together. But,
when Jackie has grandkids.
Right.
Okay. Want to make sure I heard that right.
Yeah, I'm planning on sticking around for a while. I got things
I
to
would
do.
have you around for a while.
Now, see, Shadow and Son's plan is to act like Lazarus Long.
Yeah.
Time enough for love.
Hey, what's
That's
up,
right,
Hungar?
Hungar. You better be out of the hospital now. No, I hope you're doing better, man.
Going to be there.
If you don't spend that much time there, we'll start buying stocks in the hospital company, make some of your money back.
I will say this much, is I think that I remember watching this in school. I don't remember what grade it was in, but it was one of those that went, really? This is what, is this something we should be watching in, I can't remember if it was middle school or high school.
What was it? Because it was like a rain day, so no PE, and you had to watch, what the hell was that movie? We always watched a surfing movie. Am I the only one who watched a surfing movie?
No. There was a bunch of surfing movies. In the summer.
Fast Times?
No. It wasn't it was like a documentary. It was really dry and boring. I mean, other than, the surfing. But, the narrator was, it wasn't like, it didn't have a plot. It was just,
Did you ever, there's a surfing movie that is kind of what you're talking about called Endless Summers. It came out decades ago.
Could be.
You gotta put your...
My uncle taught me how to surf when I was younger. And so Roy got into this huge surf cake where I had 6 wax, surfing, a bunch of the shirts and all the things that goes with it. And I ended up watching all the old surfing documentaries and know who was who at that time, realizing I was never going to be in Hawaii or anywhere where I can actually get some real pipes. So
You need to try Huntington.
Hmm. But anyways, back to the movie.
Back to the movie, Gremlins.
To the
Gremlins
movie, Gremlins.
usually the last Christmas movie of the year for us. Usually watch it like the day after Christmas or the day after that, but it's sort of marks the end of the Christmas season at the Paints Minis household with my boys. It's been doing about 4 years now.
I can't wait for your oh man, I can't wait for Violent Nights to be the next Christmas,
Tradition.
everybody needs to watch. I have so much faith in this movie.
And
Anyways,
Die Hard, Violent Nights. What's the other one?
LA Confidential.
LA Confidential. Yeah, Russell Crowe. Anyways,
Bloody Christmas.
yeah.
Oh, what was the other one that's in there that I'm thinking of?
Lethal Weapon.
Not Bad Santa. It was the Fat Man.
Oh, with Mel Gibson and
Which I've never seen, but I just was.
The other guy. He used to be on Justify. But yeah. All right. So let's start.
Jackie, what do you think of the movie? We haven't heard from him yet.
Sorry, just my allergies are killing me. What I thought of the movie, it was good. I mean, just what you think of the movie, I thought it was good. I need more specification if you want me to go in depth.
Would it be something you'd watch again?
Maybe. Not for a while, though.
For most of this is our, umpteenth time rewatching this movie, except for Shadow. I've seen this movie, I don't want to say 100 times, but more than 40 times.
Right.
Mark, how often have you watched this movie?
What?
Mark, how often have you watched this movie?
I don't know. It's probably a few times. It's probably, I don't know, third or fourth time probably.
Yeah. Are we going to get into like any of the meaning of the movie? This is not just a popcorn movie, right? I mean, there are things to deconstruct. And
if we can get into the weeds, I have no problem with getting in the weeds. They're both. That's what you want to do.
Well, look at it. Look at the beginning. Look at like the Rand household. Like, you've got the dad. He's got his own business. He's trying to come up with the next great American invention. He's obviously a little bit short on money, but he wants to get past the consumerism of Christmas and get his son something truly unique.
Hey, but let's remember, we have to go through this, which is, I actually enjoyed the beginning. This is like foreplay. This is why Connell has to like lubricate everything before we go on right into the movie. So this is what this is all about. And anyway,
it's not Citizen Kane. It's not Gone with the Wind. It's a popcorn movie that was a product of its time. But it's got some things going for it. Like, number one, the practical effects. There's not one lick of CG in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
All of the effects, all of the gremlins, and they're blowing up, and they're getting hit with the electric knife, and they're getting thrown into a microwave oven. And then there's the mean old lady who played, there was the waitress on Alice, getting thrown out of.
I wonder why I recognized her voice, which is funny because I was telling my son that woman sounds and looks just like my aunt, my only surviving relative. And when I was watching, Alice back in the day, I was like, that's my freaking aunt. I've only seen her in person like 4 times, but that's my aunt, and it was quite interesting. I didn't realize that was the same woman. But speaking of strange cameos in that movie, did you guys catch the credits? Does anybody watch the credits?
No. What is the? I know one of the cameos is Steven Spielberg.
I know one of them was the robot from Lost in Space.
Yes.
I've actually touched that robot. My fingerprints are on it to this day. Well, probably not, but Movieland Wax Museum had it, and my dad would do the gun shows. I would go. They had gun shows at Movieland Wax Museum, and I would get free tickets to do the tour. And my little brother and I would, if a sign said "Don't touch," we'd be like, touching it. But Howie Mandel was one of the voices of one of the Gremlins.
Yeah, he was Gizmo.
The guy
No,
from
I would have never guessed.
I saw that with. I didn't look at it, but I heard that he was talking about. He apparently did Gizmo and several other ones, and he apparently did it in different languages as well.
interesting.
So, like in German,
Oh.
they would give him stuff to say, and apparently they were doing inside jokes in some different music, and they dubbed it for different audiences. So the Germans would have like German beer songs when they were in the
pub.
in the bar.
The theater? Oh,
In
the bar.
Yeah.
In the bar. I mean, for what this movie was, it really was a whoever was the special effects guy. This was a love movie. This was a love story to movie magic, in my point of view, because all the Gremlins, everything that that was going on. For the type of movie that this could have been, somebody spent a lot of money in the right places to make this work, and I'm very glad that they did.
I'm going to say something. So, did anyone notice the executive producers and things when it was flashing across, and it says Steven Spielberg? I didn't remember him being part of that. That kind of surprised me. Was that one?
He
And
bankrolled
Kathleen Kennedy. Notice that her name shows up on
Kathleen
there.
Kennedy.
I was like, holy hell! That's what I thought was funny about that.
He's a zombie.
And Dr. Moreau, when he's going by at the very beginning, he says, "Hello, Dr. Moreau."
Movie is chock full of Easter eggs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what about the send up? And I don't know if we're getting there yet, but the send up to the whole the decline and fall of American industrialization. When you've got the snowplow driver, the World War II vet, he talks about how nothing's made in America anymore, and everything breaks down, and then they got little gremlins that go in your watches, and
Right.
they were responsible for for all of the things that failed during when he was in the service, and I just thought that was really interesting considering when the movie came out versus what we're dealing with now, and I would say it's fairly prophetic. Good luck buying a washing machine or a refrigerator and have it lasting for more than 5 years.
You know what? We just bought a new. I think it was a new dryer, and the guy literally told us it was brand new. He said, this is only going to last you 2 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. What
Well,
kind of?
what gets me about is refrigerators. When I was at work, we have a refrigerator, the old locking kind that they banned. It's still running to this day, even though I think it was from like 1957.
I don't remember where exactly, but that goes back to the whole thing is lasting. There's that light bulb that's been working for over 100 years.
One of the fire stations.
Yeah, at the fire stations. No one's going to turn it off.
Planned obsolescence is the bane of our modern existence. Did anybody? Am I the only one? When the guy with the tractor was talking, thought back to the old. I think it was the Bugs Bunny cartoon with the Gremlins.
Yes, but see, most people haven't seen that one. I remembered seeing that in the World War II cartoons when I was in Germany when they used to still play them, along with which actually Connell and I were talking about that yesterday about the old cartoons after you left Shadow.
Okay.
We talked about some of the old cartoons of what they used to have, and the old Japanese cartoons. I remember that. Now, notice what was the vehicle that the kid was driving? It was an old Volkswagen.
The Bug.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which was a German, which I thought was interesting. If you're going to be mentioning that part,
Billy. Yeah, Billy's car. I think. Do you remember the old Looney Tunes commercial? What tomorrow's going to look like? Apartments with all this high tech stuff in it. There were old cartoons.
Sure.
In this movie with the dad, he kind of reminded me of that concept. This guy is the forerunner into the Jetsons, to whatever utopia future-ish that would happen. Then the world just kicks in and says, no, sorry.
You mean the flying cars and the folding everything?
Yeah. Or what did he have that thing he pulled out, which was like a Swiss knife, but it had a toothbrush. It had 15 other things attached to it. I wish we were still doing stuff like that here in America. I wish that people were still.
There's no profit in that.
I'm going to say this much: as we talk about that, and I'm going to, even for my T-shirts, I used to love. They used to be made in the United States, and then I noticed the quality dropped off, and I looked at them, and they were made in Nicaragua. That as much as we talk about that, there are times of why I like to go to these individual craftsmen and buy things,
Sure.
but they're going to cost you 2 or 3 times as much. I mean, that's just, and the question is, do you have, I can't tell someone who's poor, by the way, I want you to spend, $150 for this when you can buy it for 25 in Walmart. So I understand some of it, but I also find it funny is, they're talking about this made in America, and this is probably how you look at it, Connell. All of those, like when you talk about the Kentucky Harvester and stuff, have you noticed that, like, I know farmers and their right to repair are talking about that they can't, the machine works fine and they still make parts for machines from 60 or 70 years ago. But nowadays it's like, oh, well, this piece broke down. You can't do anything. And farmers are fighting with them left and right. Or like I heard, they were actually getting software from Ukraine where they had hacked it so they could make sure that their stuff was up and running. And that's anyway. Sorry.
And most of it has to do with the computers that drive these large combines and harvesters. They don't even really need a person behind the wheel anymore because they run via GPS. And
the only thing they need a person for is to turn them around. That's the
yeah.
That's
and
the
so
only thing
if that computer breaks, it's like trying to fix like an apple. Apples are better. An Apple laptop. The screws on the back were not any kind of standard screw you'd ever seen. You'd have to, there are people that pirate those screwdrivers now, but you couldn't even get the right kind of screwdriver to pull the back off of an Apple laptop, a MacBook, for example. So these are things that were maybe foreshadowed, intentionally or unintentionally in the movie.
Remember the 1980s, Detroit was collapsing.
Yes.
And the Japanese were coming in. And that's one of the things I find so funny is when you start going back, the Japanese are going to kick our butts. And the Japanese just kind of fell off after the crash. But it was, what is it, Mr. Mom, where, there were several things talking about Detroit. But the other part I thought was interesting, is notice that the Gremlins and all that really didn't appear for the first hour of the movie. He was building all the backstory for everyone in there that you could kind of care about the characters. I saw, what was it, Corey Feldman. I was like, what
man?
Man.
Corey Feldman. Every time I see him, I think to myself, damn, the wrong Corey died.
Well,
wow, that's just evil.
That's pretty bad. Well, we won't get into the evils of Hollywood because I know Shadow could enlighten us on a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the stuff that Corey Feldman has said about his friend Corey Haim and what happened there. Oh, we're gonna have to do that. You know what? Did you guys watch? Speaking of which, was the
Lost Boys?
The Lost Boys on next October.
Did we do Lost Boys, Shadow? I know we talked about it.
Nope, that's an absolute must.
So next October we'll have to do that. Anyway,
or for Valentine's Day because it is a love story.
Yeah, I think we should save it for Halloween.
Yeah, save that one for Halloween.
I tried.
I get it. You're not wrong. But I just think it's one of those classic '80s Halloween movies.
Yeah, I get you. Halloween,
and that's not that far away.
I actually like the cast. I enjoyed most of the cast in this movie.
How
absolutely
did Phoebe Cates seem in this one?
Oh, dude,
she was cute as a button. My gosh,
I thought it was high schoolers until I saw it again. When I first watched, I thought they were all high school age, and then you realize no, they're in their 20s.
And how weird was it that Judge Reinhold had to be in this movie too?
Yes.
Yeah. No. When I first saw her in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I was a kid. That movie came out.
Yeah.
Then I saw her in the Gremlins and Gremlins 2, thinking, as a teenager, I'm like, damn, she's cute. And this was before internet really became the internet. Then I'm like, I wonder who she ended up with, Mary, because I knew she was like
It was
Klein?
Kevin Kline, which
Yeah,
always
Klein.
threw me off because I thought Kevin Kline was gay. And he's like, no, he married this woman. I'm like, oh wow, I'm sadly mistaken.
Speaking of which, go look who Dan
Wow.
Aykroyd married.
Who did he? Dan Aykroyd.
Did you ever see Bosom Buddies?
No, but I'll look into it.
Yeah.
That blonde, the really hot blonde? That's who he
Oh,
married.
really? Really?
Good for you, Dan Aykroyd. I got nothing.
Oh, you know what we should watch at some point? Speaking of which I really enjoyed was Spies Like Us.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
Mhm. That's a good movie.
Chevy Chase is just an asshole, though. That's like my only problem with him is he's just an outright asshole no matter what.
true.
I
Sorry
would
for my
have to
language,
go
Bo.
with,
You're
what
not
was the
wrong.
other- I just forgot the movie I was thinking of. Oh, well, it doesn't matter.
So
Stay
let's
in
get
your
this going. Let's get this going in our normal formula that I go by. And Jack, you can't say a dog.
Oh, too
But
late.
it's true. It's true. 100%.
No,
I'm joking. It's true though.
Barney was awesome. Barney was awesome. Sorry. And by the way, Barney's real name is Mushroom.
yes. I heard Mushroom was a joy to work with, reading all of the stuff in the trivia.
He looked like an adorable dog.
Chuck Jones was in this movie too. Holy shnikes! Shnikes is what I'm saying. Holy shnikes! Anyways, all right. I'll start with you, Omenau. Was there one character over the others that you really enjoyed?
Oh, and this is I don't want to for the minor character that I really enjoyed is I always enjoy the old Asian man. I don't care what movie it's in. I don't care whether it's Blade Runner.
Luke, Mr. Wing.
Yes. I always like those kind of characters. Even though they're just little bit parts, but if you're talking about for major characters, the only way I can put it is I still like Phoebe Cates if I have to pick any one of them. But overall,
yeah.
But overall, I like I like character actors. I like the little bit parts because they always seem to steal they steal the scene that they're in. But there's not too much of them, so that's what I really enjoy.
All right. What about you, Mark? Anyone in particular?
I'm probably gonna say it's everybody's favorite, probably the same, but I'm gonna go with Phoebe Cates. I think. Well, yeah, I just think she was the best. I don't know, probably the best in the whole movie to me. But I think they missed the mark. They should have flipped her around with Billy, and I don't know. In my opinion,
Have her be the lead.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't, but it could be a reason. If since everybody's gonna pick her, I'm gonna say a second. I'm gonna say another minor character. I thought the dad and his whole setup and telling the story and I know I've seen that guy and things. I think he's more like a character actor and stuff. He's a good
Tons of
actor.
stuff. The guy's been he's probably been in 100 movies.
Right. That's all. I'm going to pick for a second favorite character. I'm going to pick a minor character as well. I'm going to say the dad.
His real name is Hoyt Hoyt Axton. Where the hell is he? He's Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
The accent comes through when he speaks. And
Yeah. That's just a unique name. He's a singer.
I mean, guys like that I kind of respect more. I mean, they kind of know they're never going to probably ever be really like a leading man, but they know what they're there for and what they're supposed to do and help support the movie. And those are the guys that kind of always seem to nail it. And for a movie, in my opinion, but
I can get behind that though. Yeah, that guy's he sings country, folk, blues, and rock. I'll have to look into him. All right, Shadow.
Seeing as how everybody's gonna gush over Phoebe, I'm gonna move on. Yes, she was gorgeous beyond belief, but her acting ability really didn't shine. The guy who played Billy, I actually really liked his character a lot. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I don't know how you couldn't. All the classic, epic comic books all over him. I mean, his room. You know, I recognize some comic books I still have to this day. A lot of Conan, his art. You know, that whole thing. I mean, that's the typical why he didn't have a copy of Dungeons and Dragons in his room. You know what I mean? Was like the only thing missing.
Oh, I'm sure it was there.
You
Just
know what I mean?
barely.
If you think about it, obviously, that was prime satanic panic time, so they just went with the comic books. I'm okay with that. But for the minor character, Jackie and I agreed, I think, to some extent. The mom was a badass.
Yes,
Oh
she
my
was.
God.
Bring that up.
Yeah, she was.
When she went for the second knife, I'm just like, berserker mom, freaking awesome. And
Well-
speaking of blades, the swords on the walls, how cool was that? I mean, I actually owned one of those swords a long time ago, but I don't have them anymore. But they weren't expensive swords; they were cheap knockoffs, but they were pretty popular at the time. And it was it's just so many little nuggets in this movie that I obviously missed my first time around for multiple reasons, but you know like Bo said, lots of little Easter eggs in there.
Oh God, yeah. No, yeah, the mom was awesome. Wait. The whole thing with Kate, though, I want to say this really quick. I think her acting skills. I think she holds her own in the bar scene.
Yes,
acting
yes, I
wise.
liked her in the bar scene.
In the bar scene, it wasn't the "oh save me" act that we got through most of the film. When she was at the bar, she held her own, acting and what was going on.
But I don't know that some of that wasn't done by a stunt double. So it's
No,
hard to say.
I was thinking just her normal stuff, not the stunt double, but where she's taking like the little camera and how she's reacting to like lighting the cigarettes and stuff. And, you could actually feel like there's this poor, terrified girl trying to feed these gremlins before they kill her.
Right, but I mean, someone else wrote all that for her. It's not like she was improvising it. She was doing what she was told, and she did, a better than passable job at it. But let's face it, if you put somebody else's head on those shoulders.
Well, but I think that you could do that with Billy too. To be honest, I'm not.
Oh, absolutely.
Zach Galligan.
I don't remember seeing him in anything else. I can't remember him ever getting another.
He's been in other stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But he's been in other stuff. I looked into his what he's done. But what about you, Bo?
Well, some of the stuff was mentioned previously. What I really liked about the acting was the physicality of some of the scenes where you didn't expect it, like where the old couple get run over by the snowplow when it comes into their house, and they have to react in a very physical way. The Phoebe Cates scene in the bar. Now I know that people have been kind of gushing over her, but the whole scene where she talks about how her dad dresses as Santa Claus and breaks his neck in the chimney, that scene could have been completely cut out. I thought it was some pretty hammy acting. It didn't really advance the movie. It didn't advance. It broke with the pacing. I don't think it was a very well done scene even on its own and its placement in the movie where they're walking home from the bar. I think it really does a disservice to Phoebe Cates as an actress. But as far as what I liked, again, we mentioned I liked when the actors got physical, and I really liked the snowplow driver. He had been in everything. He was the gun show owner in Terminator, and sort of got known for these kinds of bit parts. And he's kind of got the gimlet eye a little bit. But I think that he pretty much stole every scene he was in by his underacting, by just being just the grumpy old man, the burnout World War II vet.
Yeah.
And I think that the scenes he were in actually progress the plot and the movie by lending us perspective of what we think of these gremlins. Have they been around forever? They've been around for thousands of years. Did they really maybe do some of this stuff? And I know it's a lighthearted fantasy movie, but I like it when it makes me think. and that does happen at times. You know, like when I think about like the bar scene, we've got Phoebe Cates acting, but also kind of reminds me almost of a well done like a Disneyland ride. You know, where
Mhm.
every single gremlin is unique and they're all doing different things. And I can think about, wow, how many people are in there running those things, and maybe I can
No
actually
kidding, huh?
suspend disbelief long enough to think that, yeah, that is a bar full of, you know, nasty, rude gremlins who've just discovered their autonomy and they're out to, you know, wreak havoc on this town. And then you get that very 80s feel where the town feels completely isolated. And you get that same feel in other movies of the day, like Back to the Future, you know, like the town that Marty's in. It sort of feels like it's just isolated in space and time.
So
And
Bo,
sure,
talking about all the animation, it wasn't the Barson that got me. It was when they're in the theater and they show
right.
and they
Oh,
show them all in the seats and they're all moving. I went, holy hell! How many people had to do all of that for one, and then have everything move and everything else? Just
And act independently, right?
Mhm.
So if you know if George Lucas would have done that in 1999, episode one, it would have been all CG and it would have sucked. We would have hated it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Jack, who's your favorite character that's not the bloody dog?
So my second favorite character would also be the mom for the same reasons as previously mentioned.
There might be some Freudism in there.
Freud.
Mom was awesome in the movie.
Anybody else?
What about
I'm going to say one thing when we
that?
talk about the characters that they over. Oh, I'm sorry, it's still Jack's turn.
I said no one's gonna go for the old lady with the broken you know, the snowman helmet. And she chewed up the scenery in that bank scene. You can just tell that she was really enjoying
Oh
the
yeah,
actress was really enjoying being this mustachio twirling villain. And then when they show her in the house and you can see, you know, that her husband was caught up in insider trading or something
Yeah.
like that. That was, you know, some more you know, foreshadowing that the villain gets what she deserves in the end.
What got me about with her was the whole thing with the dog and threatening for the dog and making it. I went, you took that way. I think that was overdone. I think they could
Yeah,
have.
it was right out of the Wizard of Oz.
I was
Yeah.
thinking that. That's the feel I got from her. I'm like, who?
It was like
you know.
right out of that, and
oh, and I think that's what we're going for.
What was that, Mark? Sorry.
I like what Shadow said. Yeah, I was thinking the exact same. Shadow. She's playing the Wicked Witch of the West part there with threatening the little dog. I think that was another Easter egg or something for us to see if anybody caught on to. But yeah,
I think my favorite character in this show had to be Murray Fetterman. He's the one who's the guy you guys are talking about. His real name is Dick Miller.
Right.
He's been in a lot of movies. Holy crap, he's been in a lot of movies. Wow, he just died here recently. He died in 2019 at ripe old age of 90. Holy crap. He was active up until his death, I guess, and he served in the military. He was a Navy man.
I can see that. Yeah.
So
That's
yeah, he is one of my favorite. I mean, yeah, you could do the movie without him, and I think
no, I don't disagree. I don't think you could have done it without him. You had to have someone bring that whole World War II Gremlins in the machinery, you know, trope. You had to have that in there.
I think without him saying it's Gremlins, you kind of wouldn't have even gotten the whole idea that these were Gremlins.
yeah,
I mean, he tied it all together when he's going to be run over by the snowplow, and he says, "They're Gremlins. They're Gremlins." Like, oh, okay. Because without that, there's not much else. Yeah.
Right, because
Yeah, no,
if you
that's
think
fair.
about it, especially since that time, Gremlins in you know, the current culture don't really have that reference to, especially back, you know, if you go even before World War II, you know, even 100 years ago, with clockmakers and anybody who made any sort of mechanical device, when it went wrong, the Gremlins was like the go-to, a cause of that. And where would that even come, into play? It had to, show that if you notice that the Gremlins are constantly actually messing with things. They had this ability, whether it was the traffic light or all the other things that they were, the projector. They were constantly, that was their thing. Was they're like the if excuse me, if Sauron took gnomes and warped them, you would get gremlins. You know
I
what I
like.
mean?
Sorry,
That's what if he twisted gnomes, you would get gremlins. And what are gnomes good at? Tinkering. And these guys are good at tinkering, but in the worst possible way, to cause as much, death and
Well,
destruction as possible.
right. There's been in Hollywood. There's been a few other. Well, there's been Gremlins. There's of course there's a sequel to this movie, and I was wondering. Well, there's a book that came out called The Gremlins by Walt Disney that was released in 1943 about Gremlins, and it's funny in pop culture. Of course, there's the Gremlins 1 and 2, but Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, 1963, Twilight
Twilight Zone?
Episode with William Shatner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The thing,
I never saw that as a gremlin, though.
No,
You know what
that
I
was a
mean?
gremlin as far as I remember. That's what I always thought of it as.
But he was so big. I always pictured gremlins being, little tiny, little easy to hide monsters, not this freaking, abominable snowman, Bigfoot looking guy. I mean, where does he hide? You know what I mean? We just fell out of the sky and landed on the plane. He's certainly not going to hide in the cargo compartment.
Well, I just if anyone's watched the old, well, I know you have, was the old World War II Gremlin thing. They weren't that small, if I remember correctly. With the Bugs Bunny and it's trying to fly at the bomb the Germans or something.
I thought he was about the same size as Marvin the Martian.
Yeah, but I mean,
How big is
but
Bugs
that's still
Bunny?
pretty big compared to Bugs Bunny.
Right, I know, good point. I always thought he was like 6 foot tall as a kid.
I
Well,
always
that's
saw
fine.
Gremlins being at most about 3 feet tall, maybe 4. But no, it just
Wait, he's taller than Elmer Fudd, right? Elmer Fudd's a person.
Is he
Yeah,
really?
well,
Is
I
he,
never-
but that does,
well, Elmer Fudd is kind of a small person.
in more ways than one.
Yes, well, that's.
But apparently, Gremlins and as I'm looking into this, Gremlins and airplanes go hand in hand. I don't quite get it.
Well, it was just it's what they called anything that went bad with mechanical or electrical equipment. They said it was caused by gremlins. So, and they're like little beings that go around and just screw stuff up. So
Yeah, the folklore creature was invented at the beginning of the 20th century or to explain malfunction in aircrafts. So I'm thinking the gremlins are something from like Norse mythology or Japanese mythology. No, they came out.
I think it's more a European thing, definitely.
yeah, or an American thing at least. I mean, because we
Right,
did the
right,
airplane.
right.
Do you think
I thought
the
it came over to the States from like Germany or something like that. Just with the way I heard when I was a kid about clockmakers and people who were at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution.
Well, we lost Jack, but he can come back whenever he wants. Did you guys think this movie had a PG-13?
No, it was PG. It was one of those movies, along with the Temple of Doom, that was right on the edge, along with Poltergeist. Poltergeist was another one that was right on the edge. That they weren't sure whether it should be PG or R.
I thought this. As watching it, I have no problem with violent movies. I mean, I've been gushing over Violent Night, my favorite Santa Claus movie. But for a kids movie of this era, did you guys think that this movie was just a tad bit too violent for being a kids movie?
It wasn't a kids movie. It was meant at that tweener. It was meant for when I remember it coming out. I think I was around 12 or so. I forgot what year it was. It was meant for that teenage audience. where it was kind of fun and it was kind of scary. It was kind of the same level of what Goosebumps and stuff like that. But but I remember going to go see, PG was all over the place when I was. Look at Barbarella. Barbarella was considered PG also.
No.
How is that possible?
I
I
kid you
thought
not.
that was
Go
a
look
hard
it up.
R.
No, Barbarella was PG, and so was Sheena, where they show completely naked. What's her name?
Tony Roberts.
Yeah, Tanya Roberts.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
I could have swore there was a particular scene in that movie that just there's no way that's 13.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Barbarella, but remember back in those days, parental guidance was that's not the kind of thing that you were supposed to take your kids to unless you thought they were adult enough for things. It's not like how we look at PG now, but yeah, Barbarella was PG when it
I
came
don't want
out.
Jackie seeing that movie ever.
Right.
Jackie, I know
thought
what
it
your
was
next
R
pick can
myself.
be.
PG was all over the place. I don't know if you all remember the original Clash the Titans where they had the naked.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just
that was
reviewed
PG.
that a while back.
Wasn't
but the
that's-
original
that's
had
far-
her naked. I remember
That's far
seeing her
different
full.
than the sodomy scene.
Which one?
You know what I mean?
Oh,
I
Anyway.
mean, like I said, I just thought this movie was a tad bit violent.
it was.
I
It-
can see there's definitely an age, above that I would recommend for it. But I mean, in comparison to today, it's kind of tame in comparison to today.
it's
But back then, absolutely.
it
It's
was.
I
an
definitely
easy
wouldn't take a bunch of 8, 9-year-old kids to see this movie, especially in the theater, because that
It's
always has a bigger impact.
So Connell, this is one of those movies that of the reason why PG-13 exists is it was right during that time frame, along with Indiana Jones, a few others that Poltergeist that they said, hey, look, we need another rating in there so parents can understand that because
It did come out after the PG-13 rating, though, right? Because I think that came out. Wait, Gremlins came out in 86.
84.
84. Okay, because I think the first PG-13 movie was Red Dawn, and I think that came out in 86. So it might have come out before PG-13.
Yeah, so it came out right around that time frame, but it was one of those they were starting to talk about. Hey, this is what we should do.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been joking around with a couple of people. It's like, when was the last time you've seen a G-rated anything come through theaters?
Anything by Pixar?
That's PG.
Not all of them. I thought there were a couple that were G.
There might be, but majority of them are
I
PG.
honestly can't think of a single thing.
Disney. Actually, what I thought was interesting is, God, my parents, I hated this movie. On Golden Pond, they did so much cursing to make sure they would not get a G rating, because G rating was kind of a kiss of death for any movie. Because at that time, people were like, well, I want to go see an adult movie, not, hey, is this good for all audiences? Which is what G is supposed to be. It's like,
G is for general audience. PG's parents guidance. PG-13 parents strongly caution. R is restrictive, and 17 is adults only. And there is a rating after that one, but that's not for this show.
So, but that was the whole point of that. But yeah, I mean, it says it came out in 1984, but I remember the big argument they kept having. It was all over the news. I mean, this kind of, I'm not even sure you were alive yet, but it was all over the news about it. Well, they need to create this middle rating so parents know that there's a difference between PG and R, and that there's this group that you shouldn't have to be an adult to go see, but really kids under a certain age shouldn't see it either. It's like, oh, okay.
In 1980s, complaints about violence and gore in films such as Indiana Jones, The Temple of Doom, and Gremlins, both were reviewed to be PG rating. Refocus audience on film scenes for small children and preteens, focusing for teens and small teens. Yeah. I mean, if my hypothetically, I said I have a 7-year-old child. I said, Dad, I want to watch Gremlins. No, but if my 10-year-old or my daughter who is now 12 says, Hey, Dad, I'm going to watch Gremlins, I'm like, can I watch it with you? I wouldn't, bat
Sure.
an eye.
Right.
It's just my only problem with this movie for kids is it was violent, and it wasn't violent towards people against people, but it was violence toward 3 foot tall. Same reason that made Chucky kind of scary for a kid.
Murdered like 6 people in that movie that we actually saw, for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
what are
Right.
you talking about? Yeah. They were little
Well-
monsters. They were evil, vile little
But it wasn't
monsters,
human
murder
on human.
machines.
It wasn't human on
Okay.
human
Well, you're not
violence.
human.
I'm going to say this much. A lot of it was you knew what happened to him, but it was somewhat off screen. And even some of the stuff you aren't even sure if they actually died, like the guy that got his hand in the mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was
You-
only named. It's not.
Well,
Hey,
Well,
wait,
well-
here, real quick. Jackson, are you even there?
I'm still here, just dying, but I'm still here.
Okay, what
Give me an
what did
allergy
you
attack.
think
Give me a break.
of the violence and the PG rating?
Well, I rarely think of ratings, but it didn't seem that. Sorry, it didn't seem that violent. But I guess because when you see freaking small goblin people getting freaking put in a blender or whatever it was, it doesn't immediately register in your brain.
and microwave. and what
I will
was the
say
other
that
one?
there were. Like,
Go ahead. What?
There were
Go ahead.
what?
I don't remember. One of them got its head cut off. One of them got in the blender thing. The other one in the microwave. And I think one of them just got stabbed.
Oh yeah, there was the stab, and then whatever Phoebe Cates did, she did things to that one.
Bunch
And
of
then,
them
of
got
course-
electrocuted in a pool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's just the rating on this kind of surprised me.
Well,
Well, then they,
yeah,
they
There was
killed
also
the
the
sheriff and the deputy.
yeah.
Got killed.
I mean, when the old bat
What was your name,
died,
Jack? What?
What?
You broke up when you said that. What did you say?
There's also the teacher who got killed.
the
Yes,
science
remember that.
teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it takes you have to kind of go with the times, because now this kind of violence is like a non-issue almost. It's really not the same anymore with the levels of violence you'll find in lots of later movies. But I can see how back then, if you think about it, this was the 80s. It wasn't, we weren't taking our kids to movies like Jaws.
I'm going to say something though. Well, I'll be honest. I had
Okay,
friends.
normal people weren't.
Well,
normal
I'm gonna
caring
say that
adults
I had
weren't.
neighbors. I had neighbors where they took their kid to go see The Thing, and they used to like to take their kids to. And we're talking that they were within a year of my age, so we're talking that they were 9 or 10. And actually, what's funny is, do you know what scared them the most? Was like in Indiana Jones, the face melting scene was the one that scared me. But what scared my friend was the snake scene.
Mm,
And I went,
yeah, I don't do snakes.
Well, yeah, but you're Irish. You
I'm Irish. Snakes don't bug me.
no. I'm joking with him because it's like there are no snakes in Ireland.
That's actually not true anymore. There are snakes in Ireland. We call them the British.
well, I'm gonna say this. When we're talking about this, is hey Shadow, do you remember Critters?
Yes.
Yeah,
and look-
I don't. Oh,
Okay, so well, Mark
Jerky
does.
Pines from Hell.
No, I don't remember Critters. You know what I remember is I think Gremlins. Cause I was thinking Ghoulies.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, that's another old one.
They had all these little rip-offs or knockoffs. I think I was thinking Critters at first. I was thinking Ghoulies, but no, I don't really remember. I probably seen it, but I remember Ghoulies. And that was another little stupid thing.
Leonardo Cappa, whatever his last name is, first starring role was in
Leonardo DiCaprio.
not the second Critters, but the third Critters.
Well, and these all came out, Critters came out in what, 86, Ghoulies came out in 1985, Gremlins came out in 1984. So, I mean, Ghoulies probably was in production at the same time.
You're right. Probably it could have been. Yeah, especially considering all the little puppet effect things they had to do. So yeah, it probably did take a long time. You're probably right.
And when was Leprechaun? When did that one come out?
90.
Early.
Yeah, it came out before then, I think, didn't it?
90 something. I remember I rented it from the
well, maybe you're right. Yeah, it's
video store.
Before the
But-
drill.
Jackie, were you trying to say something, bud? No, I guess not. He's on mute.
No.
He's not feeling too well today, folks.
Okay.
His allergies. I don't know what brought them on.
So it's raining over there like a cow pissing on a flat rock.
Yeah. Well, normally his allergies are other things, but maybe
Maybe mold. Yeah, it's raining. It's
Leprechaun came out in 1993.
Right. No, you were right about that. But during this time frame, like you were saying, to me, this is a movie that represents a good PG-13 movie. It's not. It's not violent enough that I would make it an R. And most of the stuff that happens is off screen. If they want to make this an R, they could have done that very easily, but they chose not to. Which, from a financial standpoint, that makes sense. But
Hey, Omen, do you think the reason why they kind of didn't want this? Well, did we establish when PG-13 came out or not? For sure?
it was like 84, but I don't think it was really enforced until like 85 or 86.
Okay, but they had an extensive toy line going with this movie, so maybe that's the other.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
We
I
didn't
mean,
talk about that.
I'm
Oh my
merchandise.
God,
I'm guessing
this
Burger
toy.
King was Burger King meals too, because Burger King was in there several times.
right.
So
right.
I don't know how that works for sure, but maybe.
I had a Gremlins backpack when I was in grade school. I mean, this stuff sold like hotcakes. It's like E.T., the E.T. movie back, that one also toy-wise sold like hotcakes.
I never understood the desire of. I hated E.T.
E.T. is a Jedi. Just have to understand, E.T. is a Jedi.
E.T. I think was, and I hate saying this. That was the kind of film that a bunch of girls went to go see, like Titanic, over and over again. Whereas I wanted like real action.
Yeah,
I can't say anything about Titanic. That movie gave me nightmares.
that was one of the movies that had D&D in it, though. They actually showing the kids playing D&D.
Yeah.
You've already a couple of you guys already said scenes that weren't really needed, but I'm gonna go that direction. Was there anything in this movie that you just did not need? I know a couple, like you said, the Christmas Story about Dad or other ones. Was there any other ones that just grabbed your attention? Like, why is this in this movie?
You know what, I'm going to say this much because I remember, but I have to look back on my 1986 self, listening to everyone. A lot of the kids that I was going to school with actually liked the whole thing with the Santa getting caught in the chimney. Now I have to agree that it's probably the wrong placement. I would have put the editor. I would have placed that where she says, "I don't like Christmas." But let's be honest, and no one really wants to mention this. If you are living in a small town, everyone knows the story of how your dad died. Okay, that's it's a small little town. Those stories go like wildfire through there. No one would not know in that town. Is the way that based on my experience with small towns.
You can't say that you don't like Christmas. Anytime somebody says, "Hey, I don't like Christmas," everybody else almost in the room says, "Why?" Everybody loves Christmas, especially in the 80s. It's un-American not to like Christmas.
Well, everyone, I think that the whole thing with the snow and everything else, I always laugh because, I lived in the South. We don't get snow generally during Christmas. Yeah. And so everyone's like, it doesn't feel like, I dealt with a lot of Northerners when I was in the military. It doesn't feel like Christmas if there isn't snow. And I used to say all sorts of words to him. No, you go back up there north and keep your snow up there. I don't care about snow. It screws everything up down here. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
but no, I'm trying to think of what scenes are in there. Um, no, I think that it was actually pretty well edited. I like the things that they came in, as the people are getting attacked and stuff, where your imagination lets you figure out if the old man that had his hand in there died or not, or if he lost his hand. Or I don't think that everything has to be in your face, and that's one things I think that this one did well. Whereas
They
in
were
a lot
giving
of
him
horror
a
films, they have to.
manicure.
What's that?
They were giving him a manicure.
Well, I thought what was interesting is the claws. They would keep clawing, and I went, but I was reading some of the background for it, where they said originally, the gremlins were supposed to be eating people, and I mean, it could have gotten really way up there. Like they were supposed to eat whatever the character's name was, played by Corey Feldman. They were supposed to eat that kid originally.
I've been okay with that.
I didn't care. Corey Feldman was fine in the movie. I didn't have any problems with him in this movie. He was
Him as a person, I don't have a problem with. Just every role I've seen him in of late, or even as a kid, his characters always drove me up the damn wall.
well, yeah.
The scene where he first meets the Mogwai and he's stashing his costume that looks like a Christmas tree. And he's talking about Billy's comic books. And as soon as he meets the Mogwai, he immediately goes and sits on the bed and puts on the 3D glasses. And he's very sarcastically says, "Oh, yeah, it's really neat." And puts the glasses back on and goes and reads his comic book. And you think, man, that's the whole through the movie, at least the first half of the movie, until they meet the biology teacher. They really downplay that this is a whole new species and kind of being. Like, what is that? It's a Mogwai. It's your new pet. What is that? It's a Mogwai. Oh, neat. They never really embrace the magnitude of what they have. They've got, this bipedal being that's no bigger than about 8 or 10 inches tall, that is sentient and sapient and can communicate and is intelligent. And they're like, whatever. No one's calling Walter Cronkite. You know what I mean?
Everyone
That's
just said,
the
"Oh,
huge issue in the movie.
There's a part of me thinking as a kid, if my whoever showed up with a bipedal, everything that Bo just said, my first reaction is take it back. This can't get. This is not going to end well. Don't set it on fire. Just take it back. This is But no, I think the underplay
Well, I think they kind of addressed that it's kind of special and almost magical when he handed it over. When the dad gave it to the boy, and then obviously at the end of the movie, it's a big responsibility, and maybe someday when you grow up, I'm like, what does he have to do now to get Gizmo back? What could he possibly do? He already knows all the freaking secrets. He's defeated an army of these gremlins. What's he gonna do? What quest does he have to go on to get his little friend back? You know what I mean? Think about it.
No. Shadow, it's not that Billy is not ready for the Mogwai. It's that humanity is not ready for the Mogwai.
Yeah, I suppose, but humanity will never be ready. They should
That's
just kill
the
Gizmo right now, and you go all Saint Cuthbert on him because it's a potential threat to humanity.
I agree. Let's do it.
if you want those answers, you need to go watch Gremlins 2, which has been out for just as long.
30 years.
Well,
Yeah.
I know. I never saw Gremlins 2.
Oh, we gotta fix that. I like Gremlins 2 because just how wild it got.
Yeah, it was a little too slapstick for me. In fact, I think all these years, while I've seen Gremlins probably 30 or 40 times with no hyperbole, I've probably only seen Gremlins 2 twice or 3 times.
I don't know. I like both movies, but for different reasons. Granted,
is it summertime and Phoebe Cates is still in it? That's all I want to know.
yes and yes.
But this was known as a horror comedy anyway. I mean,
Yes.
this is up in
Yeah.
that area,
This
and
is
if it's not
slapstick.
slapstick, this is one of the reasons I think it did well with the age group, because it really wasn't aimed so much for adults. It's not really my kind of film a lot of times.
The
You know,
second one or the first one?
Yeah, and I do regret Jackie not seeing it earlier. Having seen it now, it would have had a different impact, I think. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I guess.
I guess. All right, Bo. What scene did you not like, or what did I miss you? Mark? Did I miss you on that question?
Yeah.
What scene did I like?
Did
I-
not like. Did not like.
Yeah, I can't think of anything other than the whole with the dad was caught in the chimney, because it just kind of was in a weird place in the movie, and then maybe because at the very end of the movie we just got hit with barrage after the Gremlins doing their thing, scene after scene after. I mean, maybe they could have placed it a little differently so they could have spread like that. I don't know. I liked all that stuff, but it did at the end it started wearing on me, all the little funny scenes with all the Gremlins in it, scene after scene after scene after scene. Maybe if they could have, I don't know, spread that out a little bit differently, they could have. I don't know, but I thought that was it didn't need to be in there, or placed differently, or thought of differently. I don't know.
All right. What about you, Bo?
Well, the problem I have with a lot of these movies, and it was a product of the time again, the 80s, when these movies end, they tend to end so abruptly that you're meant, I guess, not to think about the aftermath. And when the climax at the shopping mall with Gizmo driving a car, and I never ever saw a toy car that you could drive from. Maybe it's because he's a gremlin. Maybe that's his magic.
Yeah.
But I get done with it's one of those movies where you almost have to stop it right before it ends so that you don't think too much about the ending. Because if you start thinking about what happens now, does the CIA and the FBI come in and pull a Warhammer 40K and just exterminatus the whole town, so they don't go out talking to the National Enquirer and the Weekly World News about how they're
all the gremlin corpses. What do they do with that? How
Yeah.
many non-disclosure statements? The National Enquirer would be all over it. One photo. One leftover arm. Oops, we forgot that.
So aside from the that scene, and it's not just the scene, it's now the end of the movie. It kind of leaves me with more questions than answers, and that's just how movies in the 80s were. You didn't even if it ends on a cliffhanger, like The Thing, or if it ends up where it should have been a sequel, like Big Trouble in Little China or Masters of the Universe or Buckaroo Banzai. That was sort of the decade of the unrealized sequel. And although Gremlins did have a sequel, the way it just ends leaves me kind of scratching my head for a movie that I really do like.
Man, Masters of the Universe getting a sequel. It was supposed to get a sequel because at the end of the credits, you see Skeletor's head pop out of the water. I know.
Well, let's be honest. Oh God, I mean, some of them will do it, and some of them won't. That's, and some of them should just never have had a sequel. That's the other. I was listening to one of the media executives, and he said, for the most part, if you look at the 1970s, there were very few, if any, sequels, and yet in the modern day, it's almost all the big movies are sequels now.
That's a lot.
Other than Planet of the Apes, of course.
What's that?
Planet of the Apes was huge on sequels.
No. Well, Planet of the Apes was, but I mean, we're saying the early 1970s, there really weren't that many. There were very few, if any. I mean, you might have gotten, I don't know when The Godfather 2 came out, but
79, 78.
Yeah, I mean, but he says in the early 70s, there were almost none. Or maybe there's like one or two, very, very few. And by the time that we're, 40, 50 years later, it's almost all of them are sequels. And you're like, okay, where is the originality?
Well, that's going to be overall a problem with most of Hollywood. I don't care what the story is about. It's going to feel like it's going to be a ripoff of something else. I mean, when it comes, sequels for a long time have always had had the reputation of not being as good as the original film. Why see the sequel never be as good as the first film? And you're right. Over the last 12, 15 years, sometimes the sequel is better than the original film.
Empire Strikes Back.
Two. I can name two.
I mean,
Godfather Part 2 and The Empire Strikes Back.
right. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly for a few dollars more.
Yeah.
Those were 70s movies, and I'm not saying one was better than the other one, but they were all great movies, and they were all sequels. There was a sequel set. It was a trilogy. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. But when it comes to trilogies, I mean, sequels, it wasn't really a thing for a long time. Granted, there was a few. But I think the story, the whatever movie story had to be drawn out to the 10th degree to pull off that hat trick, like the ones we talked about. All right, Love a Lad.
Yes.
Love a Lord.
No lad. He's
Okay.
missing. He's missing Shark Girl. Yeah, I can show him the finger
What
from
was your
somebody.
least favorite scene, Jackie?
My least favorite scene? I don't know. Probably
Scenes without the dog.
Yeah. Scene without the every scene that didn't have Danny DeVito in it. No, I'd probably go with. I mean, probably the Santa one fell down the chimney thing. But I want to think if there's something else that I actively didn't like that no one else has said. Because a few people have already mentioned that one. I know Shadow did. We have the same views on that one. But I don't think there was any other scenes that I didn't like. I can't think of any, at least.
I actually have one scene that I really, not necessarily a scene, but Judge Reinhold's character, I just couldn't buy it. I know he's played kind of a jerky character before, but in comparison, I always see him as a really kind of a nice guy character actor for the most part throughout his career, and the bar scene where he's talking to Billy, I just that was just like absolutely like his worst performance as far as I can think. I just could not believe, you know what I mean, that he was that guy. And of course the with the chimney, monologue, that girl would have had to have been through so much therapy to come out the way she was throughout the rest of the movie back then. I can't, that would have everybody in town would have known it. He wouldn't have questioned why she hated Christmas. You know what I mean? It would have been in a town like that, everybody would have known that, don't wish her a Merry Christmas because it's never going to be possible, kind of thing. I mean, that would traumatize the staunchest of, human beings. She would have just been a basket case, from that point on. And, she was still in high school, supposedly, and now she's okay. She's, she's okay. Actually, she's a little older because she's working in a bar. But you see my point. That would have just, I don't know anybody that could have survived that, happening to a parent exactly like that. It was just so over the top, out of place. Had she just had that, had they not only cut that out, but she didn't, she just didn't, not into it, not into Christmas. No, but no, not only is she not into Christmas, but Christmas was the worst thing that ever happened to her. I mean, God, I can't even imagine what that would be like.
I'm trying to think.
Billy. Oh no, pardon me. The Judge Reinhold character. I like to think of him as Judge Reinhold playing the character as intentionally pathetic You know, you can see this kid. He's in his 20s. He's trying to be the big fish in a very small pond. You know,
He's a bank manager.
I'm
I
gonna be a
mean,
bank manager. You respect my authority. You know,
right.
I can feel that air coming off of like he really wants
Right,
to
but those
be.
kind of people tend to not look like him. He was a handsome guy. Okay, he could have had any girl in town, and what happened to him? He turned into the biggest douchebag, in the entire town. He had everything going for him,
Those
and
normally are the guys that turn into the biggest douchebags, from my experience.
Well, he obviously was dealing with some insecurity. Otherwise, he would have gone off to go to business school at the at least the local
right.
And
university.
it's like family owned the bank or something, and it was his,
His birthright.
birthright.
Maybe it was just because it was that particular actor for me. Um, you know what I mean? I know he was kind of a
I mean, I've seen
jackass
him
to
in other movies where
fast
he's been
time.
an ass. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's just not good at it. Let's put it that way, in my opinion.
I will. That actually that would be my. I was sort of thinking of a scene that we haven't talked about. As much as I didn't mind them villainizing, what's her name, Polly Holiday character as being the evil bat.
Mhm.
They could have just took 5 minutes off of that just to speed that scene up, and I would have been okay with. And I thought the ending just took a little bit too long to get to the point. But overall, I don't have any scenes. The Christmas, yeah, Dad being stuck in the chimney, that was weird placement.
It's a lot of the stuff are like almost unresolved plot lines. Like you wondered if the movie would have been longer, could they have developed it more? Kind of like the dad of doing his like convention circuit before Christmas. I'm kind of wondering what that did for the movie. All it really told me was that Dad's not home. Like the
Right.
scene.
Well, that was the beginning of, the dad is the bumbling, deadbeat dad. I mean, he was a nice guy, but that was,
I wouldn't say he was a deadbeat
But-
dad.
He wasn't deadbeat.
no, that was the start of it. That was the start of the trend.
I don't think he was deadbeat. This is what I saw. I saw a traveling salesman that was trying to do everything for his family, and he was trying to sell it everywhere, and his family was just barely making it by.
Right.
That's the way I saw it. I didn't see anything negative about this deadbeat dad or anything. His
No,
father
I'm
was-
just saying that was the start of the bumbling, white dad who can't do anything right. For me, that's what I saw. Especially if you look at the way dads are portrayed these days.
Well, yeah, but I'm looking at what he did, which was, and I didn't see it that way because he was an inventor. He was trying to do something, and he was going out for everywhere. I didn't see any negative for that. I just saw a dad that was trying to do his best, and I've known people like this where they have these wonderful ideas. I just got that he was kind of a failed salesman that sold some things but not everything. And that's the way I looked at it. To me, it just looked like, oh, okay, you're not a super successful salesman. That's the way. But you had great ideas, and you tried going out. What it reminds me of is if anyone remembers Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with John Candy.
John Candy.
Yeah.
I definitely saw that in him too.
Polka.
Well, but I didn't see it as a negative thing. I just saw it as, how do I want to put this? Because, which always is funny, because when you look at the houses were always massive. But when you actually look at like what these people were, is they're part of a dying town. He has to go out. He's over in front of the, what I want to say. He's kind of a big fish in a small pond, but when he goes out to the convention, he says, "Oh, everyone here is a lot more technological and everything." That it's part of that same feeling that he's being left behind as technology is going ahead.
I did like the fact that he was kind of like
Yeah.
the old school tinker, the old Irish tinker that traveled from town to town with all kinds of things, and he would fix things for you. And he had all these, the original, sort of traveling salesman, the Fuller Brushman type of, I've got this great new invention and, trying to sell it, but, every one of his inventions was just, really quite awful.
So yeah, Owen, you made an interesting point about I was kind of wondering what purpose the dad served in the movie was really my point. I mean, what does the dad do? But I never really considered him as a man who left this town because the town is dying. You kind of get that impression with the mom and the two girls asking for a stay on their back rent when the biddy goes to the bank, and you see that she wants to foreclose on the local pub. So maybe these are things that I hadn't really considered before in the movie, and that the dad is sort of part of that thread.
Well, and remember, he was working at the bank to support his family because they weren't having enough. I mean, at the end of the day, for the dad, I didn't feel was incompetent per se. I felt that he was one of these people, and I've known people like this, where he kind of gets this idea and tries it, but he doesn't go through all the iterations to make sure it works perfectly. The old, what did Thomas Edison say? It's 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration.
Right.
And I kind of felt.
Forget also the fact that the dad was the narrator for a reason.
Yes.
Because of he was actually one of the smartest people in the show, in the movie. He was incredibly innovative and imaginative, and doing the best with his old world sort of expertise and skills, because to make all those inventions you had to have some incredible skills. You couldn't just take apart something and repurpose it without having some electrical and mechanical and some engineering chops under your belt. To be able to have done all the things that he made and yet not have been sucked up by some big company working in a tech department is kind of weird that he didn't wasn't able to land a job, or maybe he passed on multiple opportunities because he wanted to do it all on his own. Thought he was going to be the next, what's the name of that guy, Jack, from Flex Seal?
Billy Mays?
Phil Swift.
Right, there you go. I knew you'd know his name. He kind of came across like that guy had he been just a little bit more successful.
I have got to get ready for work.
All right, Bo.
I've got to have a supper, and I'll be at the hospital tonight. But I'll be thinking about you guys.
Well, you have a safe
have
night.
a great evening, Bo, and you know where to get a hold of me.
Yeah, just you need to email me the contact info for the game, because I've got some front-loading stuff I want to send out. The copy of the Bible that you've got, and then some character templates. And we've got a Discord set up where we can go and hang out and do character creation. I know that Omen wants pretty much just the template, but I do have ones for a sharpshooter, one for a gunner, and one for a demolitions guy. I haven't made the dog yet, Omen. So my homework for this week is to make the dog and the dog handler.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bo. Hey, Bo. I was talking with Chad. I don't know how he felt about it, but we were talking about maybe all of us were part of a band, and then we have a secondary MOS.
Maybe. I mean, I'm easy. Like I said, I was sort of going by the Heinleinian notion that specialization is for insects. And I wanted people to be, mostly the same, but I wanted people to be just different enough to make it interesting. Make sense?
Yeah, no, I was just kind of doing this.
Like the squad from Alien. They were
like
very similar.
The squad from the group from Aliens are sort of my paradigm for the game, or like I said, or Predator, or any of those movies, and it can go wherever you want to go. And I'm new at this, so if it flops, then I've got 2 or 3 other games that are completely unrelated in my head. We'll talk about that later. Okay. But I do need to have some supper because I've got to be on the road in about an hour.
All right, you be safe.
Bye.
All right, back to original Motley Crew. Um, was there any scenes that you guys liked more than the others?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the mom again. That was so. Uh, I absolutely. I asked Jackie. When that scene was going on, I was just like, this is not your stereotypical mom. This is a mom who's, not afraid to be the big bad mama bear and just go freaking medieval on these little freaking monsters in her house. It was just, usually the moms are, in a lot of other iterations of this movie, she would have just been, kind of like a victim. But no, she did not hesitate to step up to the plate and just kick some freaking gremlin ass in quick thinking. And I mean, she literally, like I said, when she grabbed the second knife, she was, I mean, what are you thinking if you grab two knives for combat? You know what I mean? There's going to be some swinging and some bloodshed, and she didn't even hesitate to do that.
All right. Well, Mark, I want to ask you the same question next. I know you have to take off for the next like 8 minutes.
Yeah. Favorite scene, specific scene that sticks out to me, and I'm not sure why. It seems like it's an homage or something else, but I can't place it. Is when you see the silhouette of the Gremlins when they're in the movie theater, and you see they're on the back side of the screen, and you see the silhouette of all those guys, and then they start tearing through the screen. I know I've seen a scene similar to that somewhere else before, but I can't place it. But I just like the effect of that.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal scene. You know what it made me think of? It honestly made me think of Disney and Fantasia and some of the other Disney cartoons of that era,
Probably
because that was mostly animated. I don't know if you
right.
could tell.
Yeah,
And
right.
I instantly went to the demon scene with all the little demons rising up.
That's
That
probably
that's what it.
sure that's what they were doing.
Oh, Fantasia.
Yeah,
That's what they were paying homage to or something. I was like, man, I know this is an homage to something in my mind. I just couldn't place it at the time, but I really like the look of it and the effect. And then when they start actually flying through on the other side, I thought that was cool. I liked it.
All right. All right. Well, like I said, I know you have to bounce out with the next like 4 minutes now. Overall, did you enjoy the movie? Would this be something you'd recommend your daughters to watch with you again down the road, or anybody who has kids? Would you recommend this movie to them? That to you, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not for real little kids, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a different. I don't know. I'm an adult looking at this now, but I it's it's okay. I think especially 10, 11, 12, 13 can handle it. I would think, but I don't know. Like it's it's a weird dynamic. I'm a 49 right now, and when did Poltergeist came out in what, like 82?
Yeah,
81
somewhere
or
around
82,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
People would take us to see movies like that. He probably knew they would be pushing the envelope a little bit, but he knew it was like he had confidence in like, oh well, this is a Steven. I think he was like, this is a Steven Spielberg movie. Yeah, there's gonna be some whatever, but it's not gonna be too over the top or too much that they can't handle or get in a bunch of sexually explicit things or stuff like that. Because I remember my grandpa would take us and be okay with it. I don't know. It's just I don't know.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Well, I hope stick with us as long as you can. Like I said, I do understand that you have to disappear to work also. So bounce whenever you need to,
Yeah,
and we'll see you next Sunday. And we'll figure out what tomorrow next week's topic is by the end of today's show, and we'll let you know. All right. Omanal, favorite scene.
Okay, so we're talking about the favorite scene. I had it, and then I kind of lost it again. Well, no, I mean, the mother was great, but I have to say from this, and part of this also comes down to, I went to an Alamo Draft House, and it was the scene in the movie theater where they're all singing and dancing, and then when it explodes. And here's the reason that I like this part is I went to Alamo Draft House, and they come over. They always do things that are funny. So part of the things that they did is that they came over and they said specifically is, please do not talk on your cell phone. If you're too loud, we'll have a manager. He says, and if you continue to do so, and then they show the theater explode, and it says, we'll take your ass out. And they took that gremlin scene as they're all singing, and doing the whole thing during the movie about not disturbing everyone. So yes. So there's that aspect. So that's what I just have to laugh at for the whole thing. So that's where that comes into it. Is yes. So that was my favorite because I really enjoyed the whole thing because it's humorous. You can tell that it's the one time that the gremlins are probably pretty likable for that whole part. But I like the singing as they're going over, and then all of a sudden they see the people in the background like, ah! So yeah. But that's what I enjoyed.
All right. What about you, Jack? What scene did you like?
Jack?
Yeah, the Sudafed might have got him. Not that. Oh, there
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, I'm still alive.
What
What
scene
was your
did you
favorite
like?
scene, buddy?
I did like the theater scene. That was good with especially with the silhouettes or whatever they're called. But other than that, I did like the beginning with the Asian people and him actually buying the
Magboy.
yes. I did like that one or that part of the movie.
Hey, Jack, if you're not feeling well, I want to excuse yourself. We do understand. I mean, get some rest if you need it.
All right, I might.
All right.
The
My
son of
favorite.
Toby are gonna bounce.
Yeah. My favorite
Well, he'll
scene.
probably still be listening because we do have to discuss next week.
My favorite scene is when the mean old lady gets launched out of her freaking house.
Oh, I love that one too. I love how fast she goes up. But what I really love is when she goes out the window and flies into the tree. I mean, yes, that was a good one.
That is
The fact that she landed with her feet up like that, I think that was another homage, sort of, to the Wizard of Oz, and the feet under the landed house.
Yeah.
I think that was, again, I mean, because if you think about it, 1980s was a lot closer to the era of the Wizard of Oz than nowadays.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I get that. I want to thank Mark for joining us today. I want to thank Bo for joining us today. I'm not ending the show. I just want to make sure to thank them while I'm thinking about it. Now, the Gremlins movie. The Gremlins movie 1 and 2. I mean, let's talk about the merchandise. Did any of you guys have any of the Gremlins toys, whatever? I mean, there was a Gremlins video game that came out. Did any of you guys have any of that stuff?
I actually did have a gizmo for a very short time, and then we took him out to the desert and do what we do with, other stuffed animals.
You might need to see counseling there, Shadow.
Have you ever seen a stuffed animal get hit by buckshot? It's glorious.
No, but
You know what's better, folks? Totally off track. We have this thing called Pumpkin Fest. It's November 1st. We'll go to the grocery stores, grab all the pumpkins we can, take a knife, cut out the top of the the lid to make a jack-o'-lantern, fill it with water, and then take a shot at it. And if you got the right camera, just orange everywhere. It's glorious.
we did shove Barney. God, that show on PBS, Barney. My youngest brother, was really into that, and me and my middle brother got a hold of it, and we shoved so much out of state fireworks that we had no business messing with, so far up the thing's ass that it launched a little bit when we set the
There's
firecrackers
a lot
off.
of great YouTube videos of the self same topic, as well as Elmo. I think Elmo tops the list of the most hated furry out there. I highly recommend all of those videos as well.
There's a video game. There was a Gremlins video game as well. Did any of you guys get a chance to play it? It was for the original Nintendo, so that's what I was wondering. Let's see, what else can we talk about Gremlins? We talked about the cast. Was there anybody in the cast that you wish was in it? It's like you could. It's not so much that there was maybe a better actor at the time, but there would, so much not that guy. Or are you
What
guys
was that?
completely happy with? Was there anybody in the cast that you wish that wasn't in the cast, or are you happy with the?
Other than Judd Reinhold, I really can't think of anybody. I don't know who the mom was, but I bet we'd be surprised to see what she had done, even if this was her first and only appearance. But otherwise, I think they really nailed it. I really can't think of anybody that's out of place.
She was in Scream. She was in Footloose too. Holy crap. She was in Footloose. She did Footloose before she did this.
Really?
Yeah, and she was in Scream.
No, I'm more
Patch Adams.
saying really because of I thought Footloose came after this.
Yeah, no, Footloose came out. Hold on. She was in Stan. Wait, hold on. I think I might. No, I was in that too. I was on the right one. Now, Footloose came out. They came out the same year. She just had a really busy year.
Oh, good for
her. Back to the Future. Stand by Me. The Ron Williams, Patch Adams. Yeah, she's been in some stuff. Okay. Ideally, I don't know if the kid was acting at this point, but if you take out Corey Feldman and replaced him with Ashton, the guy who played Samuel and
Sean Astin.
Yeah, if you would, I think he would have been. As a child actor, I think he would have been better at that role than Corey Feldman.
Wait a minute, how old was Sean Astin?
No.
Sean Astin?
No way. No. Anything Corey was in was yeah, I can't think of anything that I've ever seen Corey in that he didn't just, deserve a bigger paycheck.
I don't like his style of acting, and that's just probably my problem. Sean Astin is 51.
Okay. No, then he's the right age. Okay, I didn't realize. I don't know. Everyone talks about Sean Astin. I mean, you could just about pick anyone from the, which I think Corey Feldman was in anyway, was Stand By Me.
Yeah, Stand By Me. Yeah, Goonies.
I mean, you could have picked just about any one of those kids. That's why. I mean, to me, he was fine. He didn't add none of the characters were that great for acting. They were just, but it was a movie that was intended to somewhat be scary and be fun. And it's right at that age group of where, of Jack and my son's age is right about where it's not too scary or gory, but it's scary enough that it's that transition period.
All right, what does Mark have to say? Movie is full of Easter eggs, definitely a nod to an era. Robbie the robot, a radio guy, was from Death Race 2000, and the list goes on. Fat Gamer says, I took buckshot to an empty paint can of kaboom.
Yep.
An empty paint
Yep.
can. And what the
Spray can.
so
Get to
many
the
movie
spray.
so many icon movies from this time we are still referencing today regularly. Oh, that is very true. I mean, there wasn't that many actors in this one that I really have an issue with. I just, like I said, I have nothing against Corey Feldman as a person. I think he's weird as hell. But, you know, if you grew up in
Well, I
Hollywood, I
mean,
guess.
with what he's been through, we're lucky he's actually alive.
Holy shit. Nathan Banks is in this movie as Deputy Bent Fry.
Oh yeah. I didn't remember his name, but yeah, that guy, talk about a departure from his normal kind of role. Instead of being the absolute bastard, he's the Barney Fife of the movie.
Yeah. If for those in chat, most recently his role was off of Breaking Bad as Mike and Better Call Saul. I know this is not his first movie, but damn, I didn't even think. Yeah, I completely forgot that he was in this. And I mean, the sheriff being Scott Brady, that guy's been around forever. See, it looks like he's done a bunch of old westerns. So, I think we've done everything. I mean, we could get into the. What can we get into this? What did you guys have a particular gremlin that you liked?
Nah.
You know what? I don't think there's enough individuals in here because you really only get Stripe and what Yum Yum.
Yeah,
and that's about it. And then, I mean, if you look at if you're going to do it, all you can say is, well, what about the ones that look? I mean, the one that's dressed as in what the leggings and stuff, doing the break dancing. I mean, there's a lot of different. So what you're really looking at is it kind of reminds me of when you just saw the Smurfs, and I don't mean the cartoon. I mean the little figures.
yeah.
And you just said, "Oh, well, what's your favorite Smurf?" Well, I like this Smurf when it has this. Yeah.
Well, here's a question: since most of us, or the rest of us, are DMs, could you turn this into a one-shot campaign?
Absolutely. Would I want to? I would, but it would be so much darker and uglier that it would probably have to be a little bit higher level than first, because I would replace the gremlins with some sort of minor demons or a minor demon and his minions.
I think I'd pick goblins. I would just change out gremlins for goblins.
No, I mean, what are some of those that they had in the theme folio?
Oh,
Didn't they have something similar in the old theme folio that weren't quite like goblins, but they were?
There's a lot of things. There was a lot of little, smaller humanoid types that you could.
Well, there were these Varts. But there were like these little evil things that I think what they would do is they would take. By the impression is that they would take children or characters and they would turn them into into the same thing. I can't remember what they were. I think that they were in the theme folio.
The Dark Creepers, maybe, or the Dark something like that.
Yeah, it was. I think it was in theme folio where they said that they would abduct players or abduct NPCs, and then they would never be seen again. And the implication was that they would be turned into the same things. But I mean, you could do this with kobolds. I think you could do this very easily with kobolds.
I think that would be one of the if you took a poll, I think that would a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I can think of. I mean, if I was going to turn this into a campaign or a one shot, I'm not sure I would use the D&D system. I would use.
Oh no, yeah.
I definitely would be. the funny part is and who knows? I haven't played a lot of them, Monster of the Week or whatever. So, so there's that. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting overall. I don't know. I mean, if I was going to do it, I would probably just use spirits that come in and cause glitches, and that's the way I would probably do it. Especially if I was going to do a Mutant Chronicles or something that was science fiction.
You could have a Disney movie reference on a non-Disney movie today, especially when Looney Tunes are also showing prominent on shelves and toys. That's very true.
Well, speaking of which, because the Warner and Disney want to fight so much, you can't get Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That was a great. Did you ever see that one? That was a great movie.
I know.
Just petty bullshit.
How in the world are you not making money? What gets me about it is they want to fight so much over it. I'm like, neither one of you is going to make any money. So how does this benefit you?
I mean, they can't.
And if you're not careful, someone else is going to make. I can't say a better version of this, but if they keep the crap up, someone's going to come out, or multiple people are going to come out and make movies similar to Roger Rabbit and take.
They kind of already did with Space Jam, the Michael Jordan movie. Then later on with the other basketball player when they redid Space Jam, where they had all the characters from different universes in it. I don't know if there's been a lot of talk over the years of getting another Gremlin movie. I don't know if I really want another Gremlin movie. I think I'm happy with the two that we got.
Yeah, well, with the penchant for sequels and their inability to come up with anything original, it's really, I think, just a matter of time before they do make the sequel. Yeah, no. They'll just be like, oh, look, it's been 50 years, let's redo it, because nobody can get the original, and we can inject all our agendas into it, and everybody will love it, which means everybody will hate it. And, the sooner they do it, the sooner they learn their lesson and stop doing it.
I mean, we all talked about they could have used Phoebe Cates as the main character as well, and I don't think it would have really changed anything. But I do think that this is one of those that, but how are they going to improve some of it? I mean, what are you going to point to as because exactly like Bo was talking about,
do it cheaper by CGI and still make the same kind of money would be the pitch.
Well, actually, CGI is not cheaper; it's actually more expensive.
Well, no. What I'm saying is with Bo, like Bo mentioned, you've already, it's still somewhat timeless for the same issues, even though it's just accelerated. Hey, this used to be made in America. We used to have things that lasted. We used to have this. Those have been true for the last 40 plus years. I mean, it's we aren't even building that much over here, and yet somehow, and we'll see what goes on with this current political climate. But the whole idea of you'll own nothing and be happy, it's the same thing. I agree with you about buying physical books. And I like buying physical books with a PDF in there, and I don't mind sharing PDFs, but all they're really doing is just
but paying $20 for a PDF when PDF should be $5 or less. The fact that they're trying to get the same amount of money off a PDF, it just makes me not want to, ever.
But you still have to pay. You still need to pay the writer, the author of the module or whatever, and you still have to paint the artist.
And the art. I mean, when I was looking at it, the printing
people
of the
who make
books,
the original books have already made all their money.
Okay,
all they're doing is finding a new way to format a book for the same price as the book. It's not going to be long before that mentality is like, well, a book's as good as a PDF. A PDF's now better because you can do all this stuff. It can read it to you. You know, you don't even have to know how to read. We'll just, put a voice track in there. No, it's all just dumbing down, and if not dumbing down, getting you to not own things where, in fact, they own what you own, and at any minute they can go, boop. Oh, we don't know what happened to your copy. There's probably a technical error on your end, but we'll sell you another copy.
No. Here's what I'm saying about it is I understand them putting that out there. What I don't understand from my perspective is when I buy a physical book from the publisher who gets the 100% of whatever I give him. I mean, so there's no third party taking money away. There's no Amazon taking their cut, anything else. Mm-hmm. What I don't understand is when I buy a physical book, why it will not come with a PDF. Because I don't mind. I agree with it that they had to spend money in there. And to be honest, they're usually sales like bundle of holding and stuff. If I just want pure PDFs, and that's why I think people should buy a lot of stuff. But I also understand that you have to pay artists. You have to pay all this other stuff. You have to pay drive-through. What is it, 20 or 30%? I can't remember what it is. I understand why you're doing some of that because you still want to make some of your money back eventually. But what I don't understand is this whole thing of this is why I like Good Men Games actually, is the books and I know I gave you some free copies because I bought some extra PDFs and stuff around, but I bought Dungeon Crawl Classics, and guess what's in the very front? It has a PDF in there that says, "Here's your PDF code."
Yeah, I did, Mark. I totally did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Those were actually pretty good, believe it or not.
But I agree with you. I want physical books. I want to be able to print the physical books. And when Max is talking about Lulu says that they will not print it, whether people are doing it or not, when Lulu says, I will not print something that you have owned for the PDF, where the publisher says that you are allowed to print on demand, I think that's a real problem because I don't, whether people like it or not, and no one really wants to talk about this, if you're going into an energy deficit or something like that, perfect example is what I'm hearing that's going on in Europe in certain cases where gas and electrical prices have doubled or tripled.
Where in the UK they're tearing down park benches for firewood. Yeah, there's a problem.
Well, I mean, when we're talking to Victor Gorchov, what did he talk about? Or Misa, $160 to $600 a month? I mean, for that's, where do they think all these people have this disposable income from? And at a certain point, what are you going to be cutting back on? Oh, I can't use my computer because it's not carbon neutral. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. Well, guess what? A book is effectively, I have sequestered carbon in my book. So I'm taking it out.
And they don't actually care.
They
don't want you to be able to afford anything. They want you to move into the pre-designated housing facility that they've got,
you and I are probably lockstep on this one. What I'm saying is that if you're going to use logic against these people, you come back and say, okay, you got PDF. Congratulations. Guess what? You're going to be using more energy than I will be reading a book in the middle of the day. You know what? And like you said with the park bench, go out, if it really comes, I used to do this sometimes. I remember going outside, we would open our books for D&D. And this is when they had the better binding. Right. The old binding, what is it? Probably about before 1982 or like Theme Folio or so. That binding was really in there. And then when they got to Dungeon, the Monster Manual 2, the binding went to crap.
I've only had two books that ever went to crap because of the binding. That was the Unearthed and the Oriental Adventures.
Yes.
And there are copies out there. I almost won a copy this morning that was in tip-top shape.
Mine. This is why whenever I open my books, I only open them like this whenever I read. Just because of that. And I heard that people talking about the original Monster Manual. Yeah, but I mean, when I read my app, I don't say I treat my books the best, but because of binding, I usually put them up about this. This is about as much as I open them, like this. whenever I
Okay.
read, just because of Unearthed Arcana and stuff. But I'm talking about the old stuff in there had really good binding. Yes, I know it's more expensive. Yes, I understand that there's a cost aspect, but if I can't print things out, what's the benefit of getting a PDF? Because like you were talking about, is that's great, I can read on here, but what happens if Adobe says, you know what, we're not going to support anything under past a certain format? You're screwed in that aspect. And then the other part that comes down to it is and I have certain, we can talk about planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence doesn't necessarily bother me. What bothers me is that they don't allow you to use the old stuff that you still own. That's what bothers me. Again, if we really want a washing machine that lasts forever, buy a Speed Queen. But most people can't afford a $2,000 washing machine, but
Well, now it's more, but yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. But I understand. What gets me about it is the refrigerators. Look, I want a refrigerator that lasts 20 years. I'm willing to pay more for that, because if I lose all my food, that's probably several $100s anyway.
My grandpa offered to buy my grandma a dryer multiple times, me growing up. And my grandma's line was, "There is a two," and he ended up doing it during the winter months. That's right. Well, the only time she would use it is during the winter months. And her response is, "I have a line outside that I can hang the laundry in." And that was always her argument. I have I don't need a dryer. I have a line outside that I could just dry, and laundry smells better. And I don't know. But going back to the topic of Gremlins, I agree with what you're saying. The line from Dick Miller and his dad, that we have gone past the point of building things that would last 100 years to building things that will only last 20 years if we're lucky, and if less than that with other things.
Yeah, and we'll see. It will be interesting because, not to get overly political, we're moving towards a multipolar world where, and you can see this, where the West is losing control over the world that it's dominated over the last 50 years for the most part. And in some ways, I think that's a good thing. I think it's going to be very bad for us.
It's just a matter of time.
Well,
like everything else, it's just a matter of time.
People give up, yeah. No,
it's not giving. No, Shadow. It's not giving up. It's just the nature of the world.
Give up, we don't lose. No, I disagree.
I'm going to be this way, which is
to follow some formula where everything has to fail and be replaced by something worse. If we don't give up,
I'm not looking at the giving up thing. My whole thing really comes down to is I can do what's best for me. And I don't mean that in a selfish way. I mean, keep in good health, eat better, make sure that you stay healthy. These are things that if the world gets better, you don't lose anything. And if the world gets worse, you don't lose anything. You'll still be, you don't go wrong if you do it no matter what. It's the same thing of, reading. And what, this is what kind of surprises me about all this is, you were talking about movies, and I was just arguing with Elfbait about something. Well, what do you care? You're going to be dead. Yeah, in 30 years I'll be dead. But guess what? Who is showing, like you're doing with your son? Who is showing the kids these old movies? It's me. Hey, son, let's go look at this. Let's go there. Yeah.
Well, everybody in the show is partaking in that mentality, which is something that the powers that be would freaking throw us in jail for if they could find a way to legislate it. That sort of mentality is knocking at our doorstep. The PDF mentality is part of that very idea that you will own nothing, eat the bugs, live in the pod, and be happier because you'll be on so much drugs that you won't have any idea of what's actually going on. When we give up.
I'm going to bring the other part, though, is, we talk about that one side, but then I also look at all the stuff that I have now, which would have never come out in the 1980s because they're either too niche or things like that. And I have physical copies. And I talked to a lady, now maybe it was about 10 years ago. but she was talking about print on demand was becoming huge. And I was able to get a book and from Amazon. I'm not disagreeing that going all digital is bad, but the fact that we have the ability where I can do two things, where I can get a physical copy and I can get an electronic copy, is very, very nice. And that's what I'm trying to say from that aspect.
Absolutely. I appreciate the PDFs that you have sent me. You know, were it possible to own all the things that I'd like to, I'd literally own my own library.
Sure.
And no one would be allowed to come in.
Well, yeah, well, the funny thing is I can't throw away a book, but I can give it, and if I lose it, I'm willing to accept that. It's a weird thing about just my mentality.
Only your friends steal your books. Never forget that.
What's that?
Only your friends steal your books.
Well, yes, because I don't give it to people I don't like. I mean,
right.
But,
what the saying means is that the only reason your books disappear is because your friends steal them.
Well, no, I got that aspect, but I also looked at it the other way, which is it's like lending money to your friends. If you expect the money back, then that's you're gonna you
never.
I'm weird that way. If I borrow money from somebody, I make sure they have it back by the end of the week.
Well, Connell, I am too. But see, this is where you got into an argument about virtue signaling and stuff. I said, you can tell an honorable man because he's like, I'm going to get this back to you by the end of the week. But the simple fact is, I understand that if I give money to someone and we're not writing out a contract,
yeah,
you know what? If I was worried about the money I lost to the person I gave the money to, they're not my friend. Okay,
right.
I'm not trying to be mean about it. And
that's
yes,
why you always got to have a friend named Guido.
Well, if it really comes down to that, and you're worried about it, then go write out an actual contract of what it's going to happen.
Or better yet, never a borrower nor a lender be.
Yes, exactly. Look, okay, here's a gift.
A dime, and nobody owes me shit, and it's much simpler.
Well, exactly. If I give it away, it's a gift. If I give the money away, it's a gift. If you give it back to me, that's a gift to me, and I can tell that you're a real friend. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Just like my friend, he gave me an electric guitar. I'm like, holy hell. Well, he says, well, my wife wants to do stuff. And so he could have sold it to someone else. I even offered to pay him. I offered to buy, he builds his own guitars. I said, I'll buy you a guitar off of you. How much would it cost? And I said, just, I was going to pay for parts, but he was creating them anyway. I said, well, that will allow you to build a second one, see what you like to do. But, no, he's like, here, give this to your son. I was like, because he's learning guitar. I said, okay, that's cool. There's a lot of the things like that. So, yeah.
It's getting to be about that time. What are we doing next week?
Well, it should have been Jack's pick for next movie. You know what? If he can come up with a topic between now or by Wednesday. Wednesday is the cutoff.
Okay.
Then we'll go with whatever he picks. If not, I think we need to start going into a different direction. He would have been last of the Christmas ones. So I think we're not quite into February, January. What kind of, theme should we do for January?
Well, we say January, but if you're going to try doing stuff for Valentine's Day, you should start now.
Yeah, well, we're looking at today being the 15th. January is technically half over. That gives us, and if you plug in Jack's, that gives 1 week of January. That's not much of a theme.
So let's plug into February.
I have an idea, and I don't know if Shadow or
let me check it down here real quick, because February has.
February's a fairly short month.
Right. Well, it's got four Sundays, and the last Sunday is January 29th is the last Sunday in January. So why don't we just 1, 2, 3, 4. Making it even 5 February videos, starting with the 29th of January. So
I'm going
pick
to
5 Valentine's Day themed.
Casa. Well, okay, I'll put in mine, and we can fit it in there. Casablanca.
Not opposed to that. That could be a little bit of a trick for some of us to get our hands on.
I think is Casablanca on HBO Max or I mean I
I've
have a
I've got
physical
a physical copy. I've literally got a physical copy that's never been opened.
I have a physical
Oh.
copy myself.
Well, after Jack, who goes? Was it is it Mark or Omenau?
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying that I'm putting mine up there, and you guys figure out what month that
Well,
is.
all we have to do is go back through Connell's playlist and figure out the reverse order.
Yeah.
Right. So Jack gets his pick, then on the 29th, we'll start February's.
Right.
Okay. And Connell, it's on HBO Max, and I know you have access to that.
Right.
So-
If Jack doesn't have a pick per se, because I know he's got school coming. He's going back to school Tuesday because tomorrow is Martin Luther King's Day. I'm not trying to be a dick by telling him he has to have a pick by Wednesday. It's just I hate having things dropped in my lap.
Well, yeah. It makes it easier for everybody to actually pick a day to other than Sunday morning, which I cannot tell you how many times we've actually watched the movie right before the show, and I don't like doing that at all because
Right.
it's too much rushing around on because we start the show for us. It's 2:00 in the afternoon when we start the show our time.
Yeah.
We like to sleep late on the weekends, and sometimes that really allows for almost nothing before the show. After breakfast, doing the dishes, and stuff like that. So having extra time to pick a night or a day to watch the movie, and Saturdays are completely out of the question for us, or at least me. It's happening more and more often that Friday night, instead of watching the chill stream, we're actually watching a movie, which depending on Max's topic. Sorry, Max. Sometimes that's just fine with us. So having a couple of days to pick something out is very helpful because sometimes
I think it's you. No, it's not you. I'm looking because I picked Gremlins. Mark picked Batman. You picked Scrooge.
Right.
Omenau picked Citizen Kane.
So it'd be
Then-
Jack's turn, right? And
It
then
would be Jack's turn.
And so then- and I like I says, next week Jack will have to pick one. Like I said, my pick is Casablanca if we want to do romance for February. Because
Right.
I have no idea what my pick would be, because instinctually it would be Princess Bride, but we've
Princess
already done
Bride's
that.
still a good one. You can
We
still
have
pick that.
already, unfortunately, we did Princess Bride in the very beginning.
Ah.
Yeah, I mean,
God.
it's like
I
the
know one.
perfect-
Excalibur. If you guys haven't done that,
I was thinking Lady Hawk, but
Lady Hawk's a
I
good one
wanna-
too.
I want to see what everybody else picks, to be honest,
Okay.
because
And tell Jack it can't be a
honestly,
book.
I can't even. What?
It can't be a book. Books are like a 2-week process.
Oh yeah, but
Well,
take like
not only that, when it comes to the Valentine's Day thing, that just opens up to too much lust in the dust, sort of Harlequin romance kind of thing or feeling. Even though I do own the Princess Bride in paperback, I don't ever want to read it again. I read it once; it's a little different, and the movie's just the way to go. And for most of our audience, I think they feel the same way. They don't want to hear us discussing a romance novel, even if it's the traditional term, like something like Excalibur. I think maybe March we can start going back to actual books without
Sure.
it being an issue for for most of our friends out there in TV land.
Yeah, like I said, love to. I got a few people still nagging me about the Dresden Files. As long as Jack picks books like I will never have a negative thing to say because I think that is a great one. All right.
Here's the thing: is if you're gonna pick a book, I would like a month out so I get time.
Yeah,
to yeah.
to be honest, we was kind of rough to get through within 2 weeks, and I just got done reading all three of the not reading but listening to all three of the Lord of the Rings one, and that was not stop, and I don't want to be put in that situation again for a while.
I'm trying. Oh, speaking of which, a little bit different. Not that I'm saying that this should be done for a book. I'm listening to a book called Rabid, and it goes over like the history of rabies and other things about rabies, which is actually pretty interesting. It would be kind of cool.
Sidetrack.
What's that?
Wasn't seeing that coming. That was a weird sidetrack. Didn't see that coming.
Well,
I
you're
had
talking
this
about
idea.
What's that?
But go ahead.
No, you're talking about books, and someone put that up there, and I've only gotten through the first hour of it because it takes me forever to go through books because I'll listen to one and then flip over to something else. I have to do it while driving because the rest of the time I'd rather like read or do something else. But Rabid, at least for the first hour that I've gotten through it, it's only like 9 hours for an audiobook, which isn't too bad. It's going over like the effects of someone that's been bitten and things like that. And it's actually pretty interesting. And I think that would be one of those that would be great for DMs. I'm not saying for us, but I'm saying for any DM that wants to put that in there, you can, and you want to add rabies to your game, that it gets there's some weird things about rabies up to the point that people become hydrophobic and refuse to drink
I was just
water.
thinking about that. That's crazy. That's why I'm pretty sure my dog has rabies right now, and has had it since he was born. The dog does not like water.
No, I mean you can't even drink water. That's the weird thing.
I know.
Yeah, that's
he'll drink it. He'll drink it. He'll drink out of the toilet. But I mean, as a dog, they don't.
It has extra flavor. No.
Oh, dude.
I think I know what for movies. I think I know what my next month's going to be for February. It's probably going to be Michael Crichton's. Go for it.
I had this idea. Since Bo's going to be dungeon mastering for most of us, I was thinking maybe we should get into it. And he's mentioned all the classics that are inspiring him for his game. Starship Troopers, Aliens, a couple others. Maybe, going through them, as a group to get, totally on the same page as well as him to, really, get into the spirit of his game. And it might even help him out, if he has to talk about it and then hear us, discuss it as well to pull like the best nugget that, he wants to, borrow for his campaign.
Oh, Enemy Mine.
It's just a thought.
It's not a bad thought. We're talking about.
I'm just it just hit me right
He
now.
Also says it's going to take him how much? About 6 weeks.
5-6 weeks, something like that. He said, or at least schedule it for March. Because you and I all know that even if he says 5 weeks, it's probably going to be 7, or it'll be a lot less.
We could do this. I mean, we could definitely do Aliens 2.
No, there's only one Aliens.
Well, the one he's talking about was Aliens 2.
No. There's Alien and Aliens. There is.
Right, Aliens. You're right.
Just being pedantic. Sorry, Donald. I know you're getting tired over there. I can see it.
I know. We're just there is an Alien 3, but there's not an Alien.
Yeah, Aliens. He's talking about Aliens, which I'm not opposed to. I'm not opposed to watching Stormship Trooper. If he was wanting us to read the book, that's got to be, agreed upon and have it be a month out.
So Connell, I recommend, and we can talk about this. I highly recommend reading Starship Troopers and not watching the movie because you'll understand why everyone says, "Oh man, what it could have been if they just followed the book."
Yeah, I'm looking at my copy of the board game here, from back in the 70s, I believe. Yeah, the movie is like night and day. It's not a bad movie if you never read the book, but if you
It,
read the
it's
book, it's an utter disappointment.
it's a fun campy movie for Starship Troopers. That's why there's certain times I have to say, okay, look, Starship Troopers is just a fun campy movie. It's that's the way I look at it. It reminds me of it's like Gremlins in some ways, except you have bugs instead of it's like Arachnophobia. If anyone's ever
I was watching that movie last night. I love John Goodman movies.
yeah, Arachnophobia.
Yeah.
The other one I was thinking of, but no, I agree with you. Yeah, it's actually a fairly short book.
Yeah,
I say
it's really not. Grim is actually trying to get me a copy of it because I can't find it anywhere. I started listening to it on audio,
Yeah.
but he's also sending me. I don't know if you remember, but there was a Starship Troopers miniature game, and he's sending me like a buttload of those miniatures.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
I
we're doing a trade. It's not like he's just here you go. We're actually doing a trade, but I'm curious to see how that turns out, what they look like, etc. Because from what I hear, the animated version of Starship Troopers is actually really good. And
It
I also
was. It really was.
I mean, you have to accept that it's a cartoon for what it is, but I liked a lot of the ideas that came from it. I like the fact
yeah, I mean,
they brought in the
Clone Wars
skinnies.
was a cartoon, and it was one of the best Star Wars things ever made.
Oh,
One up,
and I did like the fact they brought in the skinnies.
right?
That was the one thing that I also missed from that. And that what they did basically is they took the bugs from which I like the way that they did it in the original in the movie The Starship Troopers. I liked how they
Yep.
did the bugs instead of them just being born and carrying normal weapons. And then I liked that they brought in the skinnies later on because I liked the whole idea of the skinnies. I thought that was kind of cool, especially when they flip sides halfway through the book. I'm not really giving anything away there, Connell. It's just
It's fine. Like I said, it's just trying to figure out if Jack. Okay, I'm going to say I'm trying to determine how I want to do this without stepping on anybody's toes. Shadow, if he doesn't have a choice by Wednesday, do you have a fallback romantic fantasy comedy you want to start with February with? I have no bones about switching over mid as I get closer to the game, going into that general direction of hey, let's start watching or reading Stormship Troopers and the Aliens movie in that direction once the game gets closer. But I just like to keep us on some kind of a track.
okay. Remember, Starship. Otherwise, you're not going to get. I was like, I can't find it.
Oh, I have it downloaded. I just need
okay.
to. I already got it because I knew this was eventually going to be if we do the book. I knew it was eventually going to happen, and I say with the book at least 1 month out.
Yeah,
So everybody has a chance to read it.
I'll come up with something, but nothing's springing to mind. When I said Lady Hawk, I was actually just guessing. I haven't seen that movie in 40 years or what have
Great
you.
movie.
And I don't remember anything about it other than Rutger Hauer's in it and that I liked it, and that's all I remember. So
it's worth watching.
literally, that is all I remember.
It is definitely worth watching. It was one of the first high fantasy movies I enjoyed as a kid.
Lady Hawk, I think, is a good one. I think Excalibur is a good one. What's King Arthur?
Arthur.
I'm sorry, wasn't there another one besides Excalibur that was very similar?
Well, there's Merlin, but that came out years later.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, if you look at some of them, you guys see the actors when they're young in the 70s.
Seeing Patrick Stewart with hair is weird.
There's that. What's the other one that I can think of? Yeah, so Connell, a lot of times what I try doing is any book that's less than 9 hours under there. And no, I don't know how fast you listen to it. I listen to everything at least 1.5 to 1.5 to 2.
I listen at normal speed or I get a headache.
Oh, okay.
I think my pick is going to be a sci-fi a movie called What's it called? Timeline. And we'll just do the movie.
Who was in Timeline?
The guy who died from Fast and the Furious movies.
Oh, okay.
Jar Butler, Billy Connolly, who's my favorite comedian, and a bunch of other really good actors.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. So yeah, I mean, there's the whole thing of those. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that's out there with. Like I said,
Yeah,
it's Casablanca.
it's 10
Casablanca
hours.
for me, because Casablanca is one of those classics that, you know, if
Well,
Jack
Casablanca is a good movie, and I don't really mind doing.
and if Jack hasn't seen it, I think that'd be a good one for him to see. Because it's well
All right.
done. Yeah.
Well, sorry, chat, that we don't have any real
I know
answers for.
you'll like it.
What?
I know Jack, you'll like Casablanca.
All right. I was going to say, I'm going to apologize to chat that we don't have a real answer for what we're going to be talking about next week, but I can promise you we will have fun and we will either praise it or, throw it in the trash heap with other movies that we've thrown in the trash heap. So with that being said, I want to thank Shadow and Sun and Omanal for joining us today. And we haven't done this in a while. So I want to ask Omanal, what's your words of wisdom this week?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I'm trying to think of it. Great. You put me on the spot.
That's the idea.
Is because I need to follow this myself. Eat right, take care of yourself, and don't let the craziness of the media and everything else that's on YouTube, whether it's the OGL or whatever's from politics. There are certain things you can control, and control the things about yourself that you can control. And no matter what happens, you'll be better off.
I can agree with that one. Well, with that bit of wisdom being shared, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody in chat. Make sure to come find us next Sunday, where we'll be talking about. We'll fill in the blanks by that point. Yeah. I'll probably announce it on a gatekeepers or table breakers what we're talking about by that time. And I know that's short notice, but that's just how the cookie crumbles this week. Remember, fill out your character sheet with a crayon and roll your dice in the dark. With that being said, everybody have a good night.
And Connell, I have glow-in-the-dark dice. So they show
That's
up.
cheating. Don't listen to him.